I just stepped off that 49ers practice field where Brock Purdy threw 2 more 70-yard touchdown bombs. But listen to this. Before practice, the 49ers added a new center, Doug Kramer Jr. They released Nick Zakelj, which means that Brock Purdy is now the only remaining member of the 2022 draft class. Wild.
What's up, George?
Yep, that was George Kittle saying hello. As you can tell, he's moving well. It feels to me that he's starting to really ramp things up as he attempts to return from that Achilles tear. How about we go through practice today, starting with the neon green shoes of Dejon Stribbling. Ran a deep corner route today. Purdy put the ball exactly where it had to be. There's Doug Kramer Jr., the new center, formerly of the Chicago Bears. Kramer's presence might allow the 49ers to truly thrust Brett Toth into that left guard competition where Robert Jones has recently taken over for Connor Colby. 2 more receivers rehabbing. That's Jacob Cowing and Christian Kirk. They seem to be running fairly quickly. Now we can go through the entire 49ers receiver room. You saw 84 there. That's Will Pauling. Switched his jersey number from 4 to 84 the day after we heard the big compliment from Leonard Hankerson saying that Pauling has been the 49ers' most physical receiver so far. Daryl Hodge sighting near the sideline. And here's Wesley Grimes. Remember him with the preseason games coming up. Grimes, undrafted rookie out of North Carolina State. Grimes has used his 6'2" frame. There's Carver Willis back at practice, coming off the concussion protocol. Brett Toth was still on an exercise bike, not practicing. But Carver Willis back and saw action at left guard, right guard, center. We could talk about him a little bit more in a bit. There's CJ West. Every time CJ West is in good camera shot, I've got to get some footage for you guys. It looks like he's really added some strength since last year, some size. Remember, 49ers are going to be running a lot more 3-4 action this season, 5-man front action. So you're going to need a zero technique nose tackle for that, and typically that player in a 3-4 is larger. So CJ West fitting that bill for the 49ers. That was Alfred Collins, 95, working on staying low. Now you see 75, that's James Thompson Jr., another tall 49ers defensive tackle. Maybe not Alfred Collins' height, but still a very, very different type of body than the next guy in line here. That's Bryson Eason. You can see Eason much more the fire hydrant type. Stouter, lower to the ground. 2 different types of undrafted free agent defensive tackles for the 49ers in Eason and James Thompson Jr. And there is Drake Nugent. And if the 49ers do indeed do some experimenting with Brett Toth at left guard, it would mean that there is some faith in Drake Nugent as a developing center prospect, because right now, or at least up until his concussion, the 49ers were unable to move Toth because you can't risk all of your guys who are capable of snapping the football getting hurt in one fell swoop. And if you have more depth at center than maybe Toth, who started 2 games at left guard for the Philadelphia Eagles last year and played well, could give San Francisco some quality snaps there. Speaking of that, let's listen in to Klay Kubiak, the 49ers offensive coordinator, on that left guard competition.
Definitely still an open competition. I mean, those guys are going to compete all camp. You know, I know Connor was in there initially, and then Jones is now in there playing a little bit more with the ones, but those guys are going to keep battling, keep competing. I don't think we ever set out to say, hey, whoever's in there the first day is going to take it all the way. Those guys are going to compete. They're both going to play in the preseason a lot. And so that's just got to play itself out. They're both doing a good job, and it's not no slight on Connor or anything like that. They're just competing, and we're going to keep rotating those guys through and see where it comes out.
One thing that stood out to me from Kubiak is that Colby and Robert Jones are both expected to play a lot in this preseason. And this preseason starts right here at Levi's Stadium on Thursday against the Tennessee Titans. So the 49ers, maybe Brett Toth gets involved too, but the 49ers are going to have some game action to try to figure out that final position of the offensive line. Now the Titans, I'm sure they're on their way from Nashville as we speak. Tomorrow, 49ers and the Titans will have a joint practice. Christian McCaffrey did not practice today. They said it was some tightness for Christian McCaffrey. But Klay Kubiak told everyone not to worry.
I wouldn't say much. I mean, Christian always kind of has his rep count, in any camp. And, you guys are aware of the adjustments we've made to our schedule to kind of keep them from having too many off days. But in terms of his rep load, we're right on track where we want to be, and just he's a veteran player, so you got to monitor him and get him ready for the first week. So.
Any concern with him not being out there today, or is it just kind of managing?
No, just managing. A little sore, but he's doing fine, so just kind of managing him as we go.
I think it could be as simple as the 49ers saving Christian McCaffrey for the joint practice against Tennessee tomorrow. So we will see. Right now, though, the 49ers relatively thin at practice, at least for today's session at running back. Jordan James still out with the rib. Kalon Black still out with the adductor. However, Black, the rookie out of Indiana, has apparently been putting in some good work behind the scenes.
Kalon specifically, he's the right kind of guy. He's made of the right stuff. He prepares the right way. He's taking care of his body. He's out there at the walkthroughs. He's in the meetings. He's locked in. So he's doing everything he can do to keep himself ready to go when he's healthy, and he will be, and we've got full confidence he'll be ready. So I'm not going to lie and say it's not a problem. It's always a setback, but the good ones and pros will overcome that, and they'll get themselves ready to go. So that's what we're looking for.
And one more really interesting one from Klay Kubiak on Dejon Stribbling, who obviously has been tearing it up ever since he came back from the hamstring tightness. He's made several big catches, including the deep pass today. We talk about how will the 49ers replace Ricky Pearsall, because he is the Z receiver, he was the starting Z for this team, not anymore now that he's undergoing the PCL surgery. They wanted to sign Deebo Samuel before Ricky was shut down for the season. Deebo is not here to be a standard Z. We even saw Deebo actually drop a pass today on an outbreaker working against Dre Greenlaw. But Deebo's here to be an offensive weapon, and that is fill in multiple different positions. He even saw some time at running back today. He was working with the running backs first, and then he went over to work with the receivers. Don't look at Deebo Samuel as a plug-and-play replacement for the flanker, the Z position, Ricky Pearsall. Dejon Stribbling, however, could be that. That's what makes Dejon Stribbling such an exciting prospect for the 49ers. Initially, they wanted him at the big slot, which is where Juwan Jennings played last year, a faster version of Juwan. Eventually, I think they want him at the X, but Mike Evans still on this football team. However, maybe he even has adaptability for the Z.
We're moving him around. We're putting him outside, putting him inside, doing different things with him, giving him touches in different ways. So it's a lot of evaluation still to go. The preseason is going to tell us a lot too about where he's at. So the thing is, challenge him every day, put him in new spots and see how he handles it. That's why one of the reasons why we really loved him coming out is he's a very intelligent guy, football smart. It just absorbs football naturally. And so that's why we love him. That's one of the reasons why we love him. And so again, we're going to challenge him every day and see what he can handle. And hopefully that reveals itself down the line about kind of exactly where we want to put him.
And I think that's where you really, really benefit from the fact that Dejon Stribbling played in such distinctly different roles at all three of his college stops. Washington State, Oklahoma State, where he was running a lot of intermediate routes over the middle, and then Ole Miss, his final stop, where he was running a lot of go balls and screens. So Stribbling did a lot in college, and now the 49ers are going to be experimenting to see what he can do, how they can pick up that Ricky Pearsall slack. He certainly is a weapon for this football team. All right, speaking of Dre Greenlaw, Marquise Siegel was a rookie last year, but Marquise Siegel definitely heard a lot about Dre Greenlaw in the season that Dre was not with the 49ers.
His energy never left. He stayed in this room even though he wasn't here.
Siegel, by the way, has added about 8 to 10 pounds of muscle. He thinks he could be more physical and play his brand of football more effectively with that. And he says that it wasn't too much muscle to where he'd lose some of that speed. Remember, 4.37 40 coming out of Kansas State. Malik Mustafa has been out with the strained hamstring for a couple of weeks now. The 49ers' 2 first-string safeties have been Marquise Siegel in his second year and Jair Brown. Brown looks to be a lock to start. We'll see what happens when Malik Mustafa comes back, but Siegel's been getting a lot of playing time. Remember, they benched him last year. Wasn't quite ready, I think, to cover. His coverage numbers were bad as a rookie when he was thrust in there early. Jair Brown got the starting spot back for the 49ers. Siegel thinks that some of the time on the bench last year, he thinks he used it to his benefit. And over the course of preseason, we'll get a better idea of what Raheem Morris wants in that 49ers secondary. But so far, Marquise Siegel has been getting some valuable reps at practice. I will say the Demarcus Robinson deep ball today from Brock Purdy, he beat Marquise Siegel deep. So obviously still a work in progress there for Marquise Siegel in coverage. Speaking of what's been a very interesting work in progress over the course of the past 2 seasons, Dominic Puni, 49ers right guard. Remember, he was so good as a rookie in 2024. Down the stretch, though, Chris Foerster, he hadn't specified what the bad habits were, but he said that some bad habits for Dominic Puni threatened to get him in trouble, and he tailed off at the end of 2024. Then he hurt his knee in the preseason of 2025, didn't have nearly as good of a second year, and maybe some of those bad habits caught up to Dominic Puni. So a course correction to his game has been needed. By all accounts, big Dominic Puni on that right side has made that course correction. The 49ers right side of the offensive line has looked very, very good in this training camp. Here he is on how he has worked and how he has made some of the adjustments that were necessary.
A coach tells you, like, man, like, you keep doing that, man, you're probably not going to get away with it for too much longer. But, like, if it's working, like, in my head, like, you're just going to keep doing it. And, like, it's hard to listen when something's working. But then when it stops working, that's when you really start listening to coaching, and, like, you got to find something else to do. You can't keep doing this and getting away with it. So, yeah, just, like I said, just keep working on technique. So, he kept harping on me every week. And, as towards the end of my first year, actually, it started not to look too good. And then beginning of the second year, kind of trended the same direction. So I was like, something's got to change. And so I really worked with him a lot and continued to the offseason and now training camp. I mean, it's just every week you watch the film from the game and you write down your notes, you look back at it, and it's just boom, boom, boom. There's a progression. You fix one thing, there goes another. You fix that thing, maybe this thing comes back and bites you. Maybe another thing appears. It's just like a head game with the D lineman, and like there's just counters to everything. And when you get in that game, it can get kind of ugly. But when you really find something that works for you, that's when you can really try to elevate your game.
One player who I'm asked about a lot is Sebastian Valdez, the second-year defensive tackle. 49ers loved this guy last year on the practice squad. 3 times they elevated him to the game day roster, even though they were planning on making him inactive, just so he could be paid more. When you're bumped up from the practice squad, you make substantially more. So the 49ers wanted to reward the Hulk, Sebastian Valdez, last year. And they did that because he was also Scout Team Player of the Week many times last year. And those 2 things were related, the pay bump and the Scout Team Player of the Week honors. Dominic Puni explained the type of look that Sebastian Valdez was able to give the interior offensive lineman, and he was very, very complimentary.
Valdez, I think he's going to take a step this year. I think he went through a lot of work in his rookie year, just grinding. He's practice squad, but just getting those reps and team. He never took a day off. He always made me better. He's probably my favorite guy to go against, like during the Scout Team Week. He's just a good opponent to go against in practice. But I think he's starting to put it together. He's really figuring it out. He actually will get some pretty good looks on like what the D lineman during the week is going to do. He takes a lot of pride in that. So I was very happy with the looks he was giving me during the year.
So we look at that defensive tackle position. Obviously, Osa Digizua, traded from Dallas, has made the room much, much better. Alfred Collins, CJ West, those guys still with the 49ers. It's getting crowded, though, in that final spot. If the 49ers do carry 5, we'll see how the numbers end up shaking out. But I talk about James Thompson Jr., I talk about Bryson Eason. Those are the 2 rookies. The second-year man, Sebastian Valdez, also firmly in the mix. Finally, Dominic Puni, such a good source of information. Listen to this on Carver Willis.
It's not easy in this offense. He's learning both guards and center. And as a rookie, I don't know if center in this offense is not easy. So, you get a lot of credit to Brendel because he rarely messes up calls in the season. He just does a great job all the time. For Carver to have a vet like that in the room that he can ask any question to is amazing. And seeing him at guard, man, he's a talented kid. He's very developed coming in for a rookie. He's just got to learn the playbook, and he's doing a good job of it. And just keep working, just keep getting reps.
So back to where I started with this update. 49ers added Doug Kramer Jr. Maybe Brett Toth is able to give them some left guard snaps now that they have that insulation at center. And we know that the big battle offensively is between Colby, Jones, maybe Toth, but Carver Willis, maybe sooner rather than later this year, the rookie out of the University of Washington, Jed Fish's program. And we know that Washington, a bit of a feeder for what the 49ers have been doing. Maybe, just maybe, Carver Willis is able to throw his name into that ring. Taking a look at some of the notes today from practice that I haven't yet gone over. Speaking of the University of Washington pipeline, Ephesians Pricesock, the long corner with the 6'8" wingspan, looked like he was flagged for a pass interference today. Throw from Mac Jones to DeMarcus Robinson. Reason I bring it up is because about 4 or 5 penalties on Ephesians Pricesock last year at the University of Washington. Definitely part of his game that he is going to have to clean up. Big hit today from Fred Warner on Junior Bergen. The gritty, small 5'9" receiver. He held on to the football though, drew some oohs and ahs from the crowd, but Bergen held on to the ball. Credit to him. He's been tough, and we know about the Will Pauling praise. Jacob Cowing needs to get back out there. He's going to need to have a big preseason. It's going to be tough to make this 53-man roster without it. I'm going to put a little red flag on this. Romello Height, he jumps off sides a lot in one-on-ones. He's been impressive for the 49ers, but there's a little bit of D Ford in him in that he's smaller and probably requires that jump not to get gobbled up by the offensive tackle. 49ers are working on him better timing the snap count, not jumping off sides, but he's going to have to get that under control before the regular season comes. Deebo Samuel, I mentioned him working in both the wide receiver and the running back rooms, as we did expect, and you did see Mike Evans early on catching some passes for the 49ers in, I guess, rehab work. He's not really that hurt. It's a quad strain. They're keeping him out for precautionary reasons. But that 49ers 2022 draft class, as I bring this full circle, is indeed all gone except for Brock Purdy. Drake Jackson never took off with the 49ers, had a lot of those injury issues. Ty Davis Price was one of the infamous third-round picks for a running back. Danny Gray never panned out. Spencer Burford gave the 49ers some valuable snaps, but obviously did struggle throughout some key moments of his 49ers tenure. He's now with the Raiders. Samuel Womack, that was a player whom the 49ers lost, who might have been one of the more promising players of this draft class, obviously outside of pick number 262, but no longer with San Francisco. Zakelj cut today. Kalia Davis was not extended after last season, and Tariq Castro-Fields didn't even make the team his rookie season. So all that, and now only the very last pick, Brock Purdy, has salvaged that 2022 draft class. Obviously not a good haul for the 49ers outside of Purdy, who ended up saving everything and then throwing 2 more deep touchdowns at practice today. Maybe Brock Purdy wins that MVP this year. If you think so, if you think he's got a shot, hit that like button. Even if you don't, hit that like button. That's your update. Titans coming tomorrow. I say this is the end of the dog days of August. Why? Because finally the 49ers will get to practice against somebody else. And then there's a preseason game coming up. So we've made it through the hardest stretch. Time to hit that like button and comment. We'll see you very soon.